Hi, Guillermo.
Hello.
It'll be long. Waiting will be long.
It's always funny to start to pretend I'm frozen. Yeah.
Yes. So welcome to come back, Guillermo, and welcome everybody to come back to our talk. So last night you talked about the time you moved to Europe. The
Yes.
first time you came to Europe, and you land in France, I believe.
hmm
And do you want to just talk about the time and the first day you came to Europe, and what do you feel like? What do you see? Is anything strange happen? Like,
Hello.
yes. Well,
Yes, it was the context for understanding of the cultural shock is related to my habits at that point that I developed through around 11 years of traveling in South America.
mm-hmm,
So basically, I got used that I could go anywhere, any moment. I could be just talking with you and then just leave,
mm-hmm,
grab my things and go walking, wait out in the city and get a lift somewhere. And
mm-hmm,
eventually I would arrive somewhere and there I would find a cultural place, some kind of cultural center or some kind of, yeah, like a place that usually in South America people build on their own. It's people that they are motivated to promote culture and they somehow rent a place or they use their house or they associate
mm,
with others and they start to provide a cultural program aiming to live from that.
yes.
It's a very normal setting in general for cultural centers, and there are many. There are many, and they have no financing from the government or any kind of institution or sponsor,
Mm-hmm,
because this is kind of part of their ideas and their their values that they self-sustain, self-support.
mm-hmm,
So they well, I would quickly find out, I don't know, went down from a truck or from a car or something, from hitchhiking, and then I would walk through the center. And when I would see somebody with a strange haircut or something like a bit more artistic, I would ask, where is the closest cultural center? And then they will lead me there. And when I go there, I would say, look, I'm an artist, I am traveling, I don't know, like, could I maybe like help me to find a place to sleep tonight or something? And usually it was people are very similar to me or in a way very well related to that. And
mm-hmm,
in a very strange way, very close to the people that inhabit other cultural centers. This was a phenomenon that is it very perhaps require a chapter in itself, but there is a kind of very strange phenomena where you travel
mm-hmm,
so often that you go to another city after living 3 months somewhere, and then you have some relationship with friends, and you establish yourself in the society a little bit, and then you move on, and then you go very far, like 1,000 kilometers away, to another place that you randomly end up to, and then you integrate again in the same fashion, and then suddenly you see the same characters, that in the previous time, but physically resembling characters, but mixed sometimes. Like, for example, I don't know, the person that was like a symbol of freedom, and
mm-hmm,
I don't know what, like he was like a person that I would interact with to go to nature and to understand the philosophical freedom of a human being. Maybe in this next town, somebody very similar physiognomy to this person, or that I wanted to see it in this way, would be in a completely different role, maybe like a responsible of some kind of office in some cultural place or something. And then they would be the same kind of characters um, and the same physiognomies, just organized in different ways. This happened a lot to me in ways that they were like, they really defy rationality in some way.
mm-hmm.
Well, the point is, this is the context of why I say yes to go to France when I was invited by my girlfriend, because I thought, like, yeah, why not? I will probably just do the same. And then we took this plane, we went into Paris, and immediately, the moment I went out, it was the first time I took a plane in my life, by the way. You know? So I was really intimidated by the airport and all the logics of and the way the people dress and these expensive suitcases and everything that was around me looked like a wealthy world that I never encountered. I was more accustomed to nature and to towns like villages or like old houses, which where all this culture usually is happening. You know, never in some kind of rich neighborhoods or with rich friends. In general, like us, I was more of this populous, cultural populous or something. So I was amazed and impressed and intimidated by all this infrastructure, basically. You know? And then we went. Actually, the first day we went to sleep in a place that was very near the Eiffel Tower and on the rooftops of some old buildings, you know, which was the house of an actress, a successful actress in France, and this girl was a friend of her son. So the son was living there because the mother was traveling who knows where. And it was like a typical, like from the movies, attic of a French building with the Eiffel Tower on the window. It was really extreme jump. You know, I could end up in any kind of suburb or any kind of other place, but this was really like a setting for all this imagination and all this cosmology that I have about like this storytelling, epic understanding of life, where I go from Chile and then suddenly I'm in the Eiffel Tower in the top building. Because it was very, very impressive. And I think in this same night, we ended up playing music with some guys that were there. I mean, the owner of the house and a friend. And there were some conversations running half in Spanish and French because they knew both languages. But then we meet the plan was to go. And so we spent 5 days in Paris. And then I walk a lot during the day. I walk and walk and walk and walk and walk and walk and got really, really amazed of everything I saw. I even found like a sculpture of Rodin about this called the Balzac. I was just walking and I saw this sculpture in books a million times in my previous years, especially when I was a teenager. And then I just see it in the square, you know. This was such a shock, you know. To see a sculpture that you admire from a famous sculpturist and that you know the name and the story and everything, but it's always a picture in a book, you know, or the same picture in many books.
That's
and
right.
Suddenly see it in size, in real size, in front of you, and nobody cares about it. You know, it was in the middle of like some turn point. You could barely like get close to it, and there was nothing special about it. It was just there, and you could see that nobody cared about it. So this was many things like that. The one I remember seeing like these parks, you know, with this incredible grass, which I didn't remember seeing in Argentina much. All very well defined and preserved. In Argentina, people walk everywhere, basically. You know? So the parks are all dry up, or they have ways anywhere. You know, it's not this perfect grass that you see in Europe. You know, and nobody will never actually respect like a border or something because it's not part of the cosmology of the persons, for the people to get somebody telling them where they can walk or not. You know? So it's kind of much more places are much more. It's much harder to take care of them. You know? People also cross the streets wherever they want. It is not that they cross on the zebra, and I imagine it's very stressful for the drivers, but it's really the case. You know, so everybody's used to that self-determination in a way. So I was really, I was even offended because I saw one little sign like this that says the grass is for the birds, not for the people, you know. And then I saw a mother like scolding her child really, really harsh in front of us because the girl had the great idea to walk on the grass. You know?
Oh.
And I found everything was so shocking, you know, like how I couldn't conceive what was the problem of a girl walking on the grass, you know. Now, after years in Europe, I understand a lot of things about that difference in culture. But at that point, for me, it was really like outrageous and offensive and attractive at the same time and intimidating, like all these very strong emotions. And I had the same feeling, like an ambivalent feeling of anger and admiration for how expensive everything was, you know. Every like phone, like a cabin for the phone,
A cup of coffee. Yeah.
made of glass, and everything clean and perfect, and the grass and the roads, everything was like new, you know. Even in Paris, which is a place full of old buildings, but everything was super well maintained, and it was really in a way it was depressing because I felt that I couldn't afford any of that, you know, in some sense, in the time, in the way I told you last time, like I worked like very hard for 2 months, and I think I actually collected 170 euros from Chilean money that was maybe money for a couple of months to live. Then when with the conversion to euros, it was like 150 euros, like for 1 week or something, you know, the cost of a week. So I was really powerless in the sense of like I was surrounded by all these things and I actually couldn't afford. It's not that I was asked to pay to walk on the street, but in a way it was really difficult to feel part of that, you know. Another cultural shock that I had, well, I will tell a bit later. So we left Paris after a while, and after 5 days, and we traveled to Nantes. Nantes is a city in Bretagne. It's in the north coast of France.
Okay.
And there, it was the sister of my girlfriend was living, a twin sister. No? And we went to visit them, and they created this plan about going biking through Bretagne, visiting druids, these neo-druids, no? Like these people that they are somehow vehicles of the ancient knowledge of Celts in terms of spirituality and understanding of nature. And I don't know exactly, it's not so clear. But there was some kind it was supposed to be like a current of ancient knowledge that went into hiding when the Romans and the church impact France, this area of France, and they were like passed through generation through generation until the power of the church diminished, and then they appear these new schools of ancient esoteric knowledge. Among them, in all Europe, there were these druids in France, in this area of France, and also in England, and I think in Ireland maybe. There are some places where this culture was somehow revitalized. And there are a lot of different claims. Like some people think that they are all charlatans, and they think that it's very true what they say, and they are very different from each other, you know. And there are a lot of them. So it's a very active part of the culture. Although it's probably very very small amount of population that deal with these things, you know. But I think it's more related with the countryside. And actually, these guys. One of the druids was an acquaintance of an aunt of my girlfriend. My girlfriend is like French Canadian, but they also had a family in France. So we went to her aunt in the countryside, like have a farm, and everything was every single brick and leaf of a tree and the street of number, everything was different. You know, it's not only. They are still the same elements, no? Their houses, their windows, their cars, but everything is slightly or very, very, very different. And then this consumes a lot of attention of the brain because you are paying attention to everything, and there is beauty in most of things. You know, these things are designed; they are made with style, and they are also designed to somehow compete with other producers, no? So the best design kind of win, or the cheapest price. I don't know how it works, but so it was all this incredible like production at a very high quality and very different. So all this was some elements of this shock, no? Cultural shock in terms of like being in this like literary environment in Paris, with the Eiffel Tower and the buildings and this great metropolis and all this, the way, the physiognomies of the people. Then it was the economic shock of not having money to afford almost nothing around, because everything I wanted to buy, because of the conversion of the money in the first days, it was like ridiculously expensive, like 10 times fold, 5 times fold, everything. So it was really shocking in the first days. And then it was also this, the encounter with a superior society in a way. I felt it in this way. I cannot defend this claim, but that was the way I felt, like it's supposed to have been during history when people would visit these big cities like Damascus or cities from the east, and they would come back saying like, this guy have like so much wealth and so much variety and so much sophistication in so many levels, and they would come to Europe and say like, we are nothing, like our cities are like a joke compared to theirs, These are so something like that. The encounter with a superior society that you can perceive through the observation of the objects, mostly, the objects around you. I was surprised about many different things. Well, eventually we started this trip, and then it was the cultural shock of the language, which all in the first 10 days or something, or 5 days in Paris, I barely understood anything. And you cannot say nothing either, especially in France where people only speak French. But at that point, I didn't even speak English. So it was like, I only speak Spanish, and I never thought there is any usefulness to talk another language. I never try anything. I was studying some kind of English, but I didn't know that it was important. I don't know why I did it. It was just part of the school, or it was some kind of magazines that my parents bought with drawings, and I was going through them. But I had no consciousness of what was the purpose of learning English whatsoever. It was just one of those things, And then there, at the same time, I could recognize a lot of whatever was written, because it is French, Latin language, which is very similar to Spanish.
Similarity, yes, yeah.
So it was this strange feeling again, like I don't understand nothing, and at the same time, I understand something. It was not Arab or Korean or something like unbreakable. It was really something reachable in a way. So I became super interested in learning, and I dedicate a lot of energy to ask questions and write and try to find out what things mean. But at the same time, I couldn't express my own wishes, and I couldn't ask the questions I was interested in, and I couldn't follow the flow of conversation. We were interviewing these druids, and I could, for the little I understood, I thought that this was the opportunity of my life to talk with these very cultural, very well-developed and educated people who were talking about very deep matters, that these two girls were asking them. And I was missing everything. I was there in front of them in the same room, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. It was really like a psychological cosmic torture. The things that you are more interested in life, and they're in front of you, and you cannot get them.
Yeah.
Really impressive. So then you have this other layer of cultural shock based on the language, and in the end, when you start to combine all these elements, you start to see how much we give for granted the basic aspects of our operational capacities. We are operating because, there's motor abilities to grab things and know how things work. But then there is this economic level, there is this cultural level in the sense of how how much you understand the expectations and the patterns of the society in order to interact properly, like contextualization. And then you also have the language barrier, like how much all our interactions are, most of them, interaction with others are somehow mediated by the language. And we don't even think about that because the society spent 20 years teaching us all these skills.
Yes.
And we will just go to school or thinking other things or study or not, but this training is building until you are able to operate, basically. And when you go to a culture where all these vectors are annihilated, you are like completely useless. You cannot talk, you cannot get nothing for yourself, you cannot make money, you cannot understand, you cannot communicate, you cannot, and it just starts to load, on you from every angle. At the same time, it is like a very illuminating experience to perceive the nature of yourself when you cannot operate. But at the same time, it is very, very heavy psychologically to experience so much powerlessness from one day to the next. It's not like a gradual thing where you slowly, no, it's just like yesterday you were on the top of adaptation and today you are on the bottom. Just like that. Just like that. This was like extreme. And it doesn't disappear in 1 week or two, It just, you enter in a period of life that it consists on that, and you need to pull yourself out of it through study. It's crazy. The only thing that can help you out is your capacity to organize your studying process and learn the language, learn their culture, learn the codes, and learn everything. But as fast as you go, it takes months or years.
Yeah.
So when we started traveling with these bikes, and the girls have very top bikes, and they got me one very fucked up bike. Because they didn't have any money, and then because they didn't know where to get it, and they actually just thought that he will figure it out. I don't know. So we started biking around 12 hours per day.
Okay, so here now we want to know where you are going to. So,
but next time.
So we are going to stop here. So the trip, yeah, you have a bicycle trip. Let's go to the France. Your own.
In Bretagne, in the
Yes,
forest of Bretagne, interviewing druids, yes.
Okay, so that would be. Would like to know more about this fuck up bike trip. Okay. So it's very interesting because I have a lot of resonate experience when I first went to the UK, and yeah, I know the struggle, and was a, but it's very nice to go through it with you in your memory. So so
Now from a safe position,
yes, that's right. So
enjoying the delight of the experience.
yes.
Yes, super, Lee. Thank you so much for the question, and because it also pulls me into remembering all those things. And at the same time, they get registered, so it's almost like writing a book, actually, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much, and so we'll continue next time. And thank you everybody for watching, and until next time.
Until next time.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.